In April of 1924, Al-Azhar University had responded to the Turkish abolition of the Khilafah. What did they do? Al-Azhar University declared that this was bid'ah and haram to abolish the Khilafah. And therefore we must respond to it. And the response of Al-Azhar is that we must have a mu'tamar, a conference, which would meet and which would appoint a new Khalifa. As soon as Al-Azhar issued this proclamation, you could see how Britain was trembling. The British government can't digest their food now. They've got to plan some counter strategy. So Britain puts pressure on King Fuad. And King Fuad is now putting pressure on Al-Azhar to hold back on this conference. So for 2 years the conference can't take place. 2 years because of British pressure. The conference finally takes place in June, July of 1926. But Britain uses another counter strategy. She gets Abdulaziz ibn Saud in Mecca to also convene a conference of the world of Islam in Mecca at the time of the Hajj. Massive intervention in the affairs of the world of Islam to ensure that the Cairo conference does not succeed in winning a representative gathering, and that the Mecca conference gets all the Muslims attending it. And they succeeded. The Cairo conference, organized by Al-Azhar University, becomes an essentially Arab conference. The conference met. The conference decided that the Khilafah was an essential part of the deen, that it was bid'ah and haram to abolish it, that the Khilafah must be restored, but we don't know how to do it. So let's go back home and come back after 1 year. But in Mecca, you had the most successful representation of the entire world of Islam, because Britain really went to work on it. This conference is now convened, but strangely for the Wahhabi movement. Strangely for the Wahhabi movement, which is a religious movement, which declares that it is bringing back the original Islam and removing all the extraneous things which had been added and cutting out all the shirk. So this is the real Islam. Well, then how come you don't even have the subject of the Khilafah in your agenda for your conference? We asked the Wahhabi movement, give us an answer. There is no answer.
The Ikhwan, or Muslim Brothers, were renowned warriors, light and mobile and extremely courageous. They were also fervent Wahhabi Islamic Puritans. The Wahhabis took their name from an 18th century Islamic preacher, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. Wahhab was first to see the value in forging an alliance with the able tribesmen of the Al Saud family in order to help spread his austere version of Islam.
The Ikhwan were an important fighting force that supported the expansion of Ibn Saud. They had this vision that they propagated true Islam in its purest form. So anything they encountered that differed from that vision was regarded as objectionable.
Ibn Saud's other means of ensuring loyalty were insisting that those he conquered become devout followers of the strict Wahhabi Islamic sect.
They're the strictest section of Sunni Islam. Until the 30s and 40s, they didn't wear silk, they didn't have flowers in their gardens, they would never use perfume. They were Puritan, they were desert people, and they loved him.
The answer is that the Wahhabi-Saudi alliance is now perpetrating a gigantic, a massive betrayal of Islam. in abandoning the Khilafah.
To one side of the Crown Prince sit leading Wahhabi clerics, guardians of tradition who habitually resist change. On the Crown Prince's other side are the royal family and its retainers. Presumably, the two groups are partners in power.
Subject of the Khilafah is not even on the agenda of the conference. Instead, Abdulaziz ibn Saud approaches the conference twice, himself in person, and he asks the conference to recognize him as Al-Malik. That his rule should be recognized over the Hijaz. When the conference had heard His Majesty the King on both occasions, and the conference is now sitting down to discuss the matter, shall we recognize Saudi Wahhabi rule over the Hijaz? The leader of the Indian Muslim delegation jumped up to speak first. He spoke first. His name was Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar. He got up and he told the king, "Get lost. We'll never do that." As soon as the leadership of the Indian Muslim delegation had established its position of rejecting the claim of the Saudi Wahhabi leadership for sovereignty and control over the Hijaz, the rest of the delegates couldn't say, That was the power of a man who knew Islam and lived Islam. And so the conference ended without giving to the Saudi Wahhabi rule over the Hijaz recognition.
The Ottoman rule over Mecca and Medina ended in the early years of the 20th century with the abolishment of the Caliphate institution. The future of the two holy cities was then transferred to the Saudi monarchy. The Saudi monarchy has become the legitimate guardian of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. One of its responsibilities is to hold an official ceremony of cleaning the Kaaba and its vicinity. The ritual is held annually before the coming of the Hajj season.